Well, hello, Glenda. We're here at Lollapalooza and having a blast from what you're telling me you are too.
Hello, Carol. Yes, it has been an absolute blast here, and I'm glad to have met you in person.
We have all kinds of noise from one sort, from barking dogs to everything, but hey, we're getting through it. So let me ask you this. You were telling me about your story of being on the road full-time, part-time, as a couple, as a widow, and I thought it was just a story that so many people would relate to that I wanted to see if you would share it, and you were gracious enough to. Can you tell me a little bit about how you and your husband started out on the road full-time? Because you said you sold your home. Can you tell a little bit about that?
We actually sold our home because we had a 32-foot Class A and a small pickup already, and we had been spending more and more time on the road. And so we just decided that we didn't need the house anymore, and we went full-time.
Well, when you did that, what did your family think when you told them, oh, we're selling the house and we're living in an RV? What did they think?
There was a few surprises. The kids were all grown and on their own, so it wasn't as if they needed mom and dad right there at their beck and call.
Right.
And they kind of adjusted. It was a shock at first, but I don't think they were real surprised because we had been gone quite a bit the last 6 months before we sold the house.
Well, how did you enjoy being on the road full time?
I loved it. I loved meeting the different people. I loved being in the different states, the different campgrounds. We stayed at military bases. We stayed at family camps. We stayed at resorts, and you met all kinds of people from all walks of life. And it was really a lot of fun. I don't know, it's kind of like a high, I think, that you end up developing to being on the road.
Yeah. So it's almost like you get addicted to that lifestyle, it sounds
Correct.
like.
Correct.
So then your husband passed, and what did you do at that point?
Well, we had already sold the big Class A, and I've been sitting at home, and I was still working full-time, but weekends I was at home, evenings I was at home, and all the kids had their own individual lives and stuff, and I just really started missing being on the road.
You were telling me that you were looking at your life and thinking, I don't want to spend the rest of my life like this. Can you explain how you were feeling at that point?
Well, you're sitting at home, you're kind of reliving everything in the past. You're thinking about how good things were back then, and maybe kind of feeling sorry for yourself because you're not a part of a couple anymore. And I just decided one day that I really didn't need to give up the traveling, the being on the road, that I thought I could do it myself. And so I decided that that's exactly what I was going to do. So I got a rig that I could handle. And
what was your rig that you got at that point?
It was a Winnebago View, a 24-foot. And the dogs and I hit the road, and we did it part-time because I was still working full-time. So I did weekends and vacations and holidays and stuff just to get my feet wet again and get used to it just being me and building my confidence. That's what I needed to do at that point, was build my confidence that I can do anything as a single woman that I had done as a couple.
Right. It must be difficult because when you're a couple, you can split the work. You can, he has one set of tasks that he does. You do other things. But when you're by yourself, then you're doing everything. So it must have been a little bit scary at first.
It was very scary to think, oh my gosh, I'm in charge of the mechanical stuff of this, plus the inside. The setup and the teardown didn't bother me. What bothered me more was, what if I have a flat tire? What if the engine light goes on?
So how did you conquer that fear?
Well, I picked up roadside service, and I just thought, what's the worst that can happen? I call somebody and it gets towed someplace, and I fly home, or I rent a vehicle and drive home, and I leave the rig there. I decided I was not going to let that limit my ability to be on the road.
I think, and I have said that to myself in different situations. What is the worst that can happen? And then when I think of the worst and I realize I can handle that, all of a sudden it becomes manageable and you're not scared anymore. I think that's a great question to pose to yourself. So once you conquered your fear of different mechanical things or all the imaginary horrors that could occur, you were telling me a Winnebago, and then you transitioned to something else?
I downsized again to a road trek. I've got a 190 Popular.
I love those.
I do too. It's just the right size for myself and my 3 small Bichons that I travel with. And I feel really confident in it because it fits any place. I can take it state parks, national parks. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to park it. And
so you're saying that sometimes, you know, you're making the adjustments. You might start with one rig, and then as you travel in it, you discover it may not fit your needs, so you adjust and go to something else.
Correct, and that's exactly what I did. Is I made the adjustment because I knew I was getting ready to retire. I wanted something I could be comfortable in, and yet something that I could go a little closer to full-time. I'm not full-time. I still go home for the holidays. I'm out anywhere from 3-4 months, and I might go home for 2 or 3 days, and then I'm out again. Sometimes I'm out 9 months before I ever go back home.
And that's what I was going to ask you. So you don't call yourself full-time because you're not on the road 12 months and have no other place to go. But from what you're telling me, you're on the road considerably more than you're at your home base.
I am. I'm. If you add up the days, I'm probably home maybe 60 days out of the year total. The rest of the time I'm on the road.
Wow. So how do you feel in your spirit and your soul now that you're on the road that much?
I love it. The more I'm on the road, the better I like it. I actually prefer not to go home. When I think that I have to go home, that the time's coming, that I've got some commitments at home that I have to meet for 2 or 3 days, I'm like, oh, I really don't want to head home.
It's like you've run away from home.
Right.
but you're enjoying it, you know.
I do enjoy it. I've met so many nice people, so many lovely solo females are out there. It's amazing how many solo females are actually out there traveling.
People would be shocked, wouldn't they?
They would be. I was shocked.
I was really stunned too when I got on the road and was traveling. And I was like, this is like a whole subculture that no one knows exists.
Exactly. I mean, everywhere you go, there's at least 4 or 5 solo women camped. It doesn't matter if it's a state park, a national park. I stay at the military campgrounds. There's solo female people parked there. I boondock. They're parked out there. It's amazing. They're just everywhere.
You know what? It's almost like the older women get, the more adventurous a lot are becoming. It's what are that kind of, or what do you think?
I think so. I think, you know, we're kind of maybe in a transitional generation where we might have been brought up that we really couldn't do this, but because we're educated and we've taken on more responsibility with our lives and stuff, we seem to be more adventurous to go do this. And there's a lot of women out there due to divorce, due to losing their spouses that are single, and they've made a conscious decision that they need to go out and continue to do this and try this, and that they can do it. And it's very empowering. It really is. When you're out there on the road and you're the total responsibility of how things go, it's very empowering.
It is. It really is. Well, Glenda, thank you so much. I think so many people, especially women, are just going to be encouraged and invigorated by your story. And I think there are a lot of people who are sitting home at a certain age thinking, there is nothing else for me. And hearing your story, I think will tell them, you know, you don't have to be full-time, but you can, whether it's being on the road, living on the road, or pursuing some other interest. You don't have to, after a certain point, just sit there and wait for the end to come.
That's correct. There, you can do it in little pieces, however it suits you. I mean, if you're only comfortable going for 3 or 4 days and going to a park and plugging in, you're still, if that's what makes you happy, that's what you need to do. And you will gain confidence. The more you do it, the more confident you get.
So true. Glenda, thank you so much. And we will catch up with you down the road because we know that's where you'll be.
I sure will be. Thank you, Carol, for allowing me to share my story, and definitely see you down the road or at some of these other meetups.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.